Welcome to episode 42 of Around the Board, recorded on June 9th, 2024. This, of course, is a show where four board game enthusiasts discuss board game news, board game topics, and board game shenanigans. Today's show starts off with everybody's favorite game, Play Shelf Trade. Then we'll move on to a Hot or Not segment featuring the Fox Experiment. After that, we get to see who has the largest shelf of shame. Last week, I like the delay there on the teleprompter. That made it very, you could go any way we want with that. Lastly, we'll round out the show with another segment of Board Game Karens.
I'll win
So, without further ado, here are your hosts, Daniel, Card Draw Connors, John, I got game length apprehension fever, and the only prescription is short board games, Theismann, and Chris Choo Choo for Life Thomason, and yours truly, Andy. If it's not free, you didn't ask the right questions, Barnett. Welcome to Around the Board.
Yes, I'm glad you just have to read whatever's on the teleprompter, Andy.
I know, I just have to.
Now I have to wear this hat all day.
Oh, yeah, you do.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Now required. I was not ready for
Hey, guys,
this. I did my hair and everything, guys.
Did you guys know that our last video is like at 600 views right now?
Oh my gosh,
Which,
600 people tortured themselves with us?
I know.
I have a story about that real quick if I can. So,
John watched it 600 times.
No, but I'm eating lunch with my kids, and they know, they're aware of the YouTube channel. And I'm like, hey guys, our last episode, guess how many views it got? Keep in mind, our average is probably about 150. 8,000? 2 million? Okay, just never mind. Just pay for your own lunch. I'm done.
Pay for your own lunch. That's
wow.
Right. Crazy kids.
That's how Mr. Beast did. You should get the same.
So obviously 500 isn't like something worth bragging about,
It
but
did,
I
not
only
to them
bring it up
apparently,
because it was
600.
a super unique episode. We did a top 10 deserted island games, and it was really fun. So you haven't watched that one, make sure you guys go back and watch it. We did some shenanigans where we had to collectively come up with the idea, and then we had 2 vetoes each. So a lot of fun, really cool idea, and we might do more in the future.
And
But we're back to the regular.
This close.
There's not many episodes where we can pull out clips from what's it called, Castaway. So we were able to do that.
That's true. That's true.
Was fun. That was fun.
But today we're going to go back to our regular format.
Back to your regularly scheduled programming.
That's correct.
We got a bunch of stuff to talk about. So some really cool episodes coming up in the hopper. In the hopper? Well, not in the hopper yet, but they'll be in the hopper. And then we'll release them from said hopper. We're going to do another top 10 one based on patriotic games or America games. What America? What's going to be?
America. Just America.
America.
Just America.
Correct.
America games.
Just America.
America. Okay. Well, that'll be fun. And then, of course, you know what time of year it is? It's a certain type of season. That's right. Origins.
Shoehorned it in.
I had to get it in. Because Origins is taking place this month, and also, of course, Gen Con is just around the corner. So we're going to have some fun with con season as we get closer. Our annual Gen Con preview episode, which
let's get you guys to commit. Daniel and Andy, you're the two that might be going to Gen Con. Are you going? Let's have something out.
We have to say it right now in front of the live audience, the live studio audience.
I want you to be held accountable. So I want you to say you're going and then actually go.
I mean, I have the time off, so
there you go.
I'm ready.
Okay. Well, there's one. There's one.
Andy, you always have your months planned out in advance. Come on.
Oh, yeah. See, that's the thing is I can't plan it until when does it start? Is it August 1st?
Yeah.
Well, then I can't
Something
plan
like
it
that.
until
In
July 31st is when I plan it.
Somewhere in there. Yeah, exactly.
So people are here for a reason. You know why they're here?
See, every time I always forget, like, what are we here for? And then the music drops, like, oh, the games. That's what it is.
Yep.
That's right. Around the Board is all about debating different topics within tabletop gaming in 4 unique segments, each hosted by one of us. A behind-the-scenes judge will award points. At the end of the show, the contestant with the most points will be given 120 seconds. Magical, whimsical seconds, in fact, to blatherskite, malarkey, trumpery, drivel, and flapdoodle their twaddle muck baloney everywhere. That sounded inappropriate. Gonna be honest, Randy.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna have to run these by the censors before we go live on the teleprompter in the future. Anyway, let's get to it.
Round 1. Fight!
We have the return of our favorite game, fan favorite, our favorite. It's Play Shelf Trade. If you haven't witnessed Play Shelf Trade for you before, shame on you. It's simply this: we're going to give you 3 games, and we're going to go around the board, and we're going to tell you which game we'd like to play right now, which game we will keep on our shelf because it's that amazing, and which game we will trade away because we're not feeling it. So I guess I'll get us started here. We're gonna our 3 games they're all in the category of dice chuckers, which when we in our meeting we were discussing the term dice chuckers, I just immediately thought of like skirmish games and war games and things like that, or D&D. But we're trying to stay away from that. But these are still games that you chuck dice, right? Is that right, Daniel? Did I get that right?
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't call it a dice chucker personally. That's what John called it. I would just call them games with dice in it. But whatever.
It's because we're doing, this is the theme, Andy. We're doing the Fox experiment.
Do you have to chuck dice or not?
You chuck dice in the Fox experiment, and so we wanted other games that give you that feel.
So we wanted to have more dice. Okay. Well, anyway, we all came up with. Let's face it, I ram-horned this through because their original choices I didn't care for. I picked 3 games that you chuck dice: Las Vegas, Raja of the Ganges, and Role Player. So let me tell you how I feel about them first. So
tell us a little bit about the games, maybe?
Well, sure. Why the heck not? Las Vegas is a very simple game, and it's a very fun game. You can be played anywhere. In fact, I have taken Las Vegas with me on a raft trip before, when all we did was took all our camping gear on a raft and went down the river. But Las Vegas, you're just chucking dice, literally, and you're assigning the different dice values to different casinos to try and win those casinos and win the money there. It's a fun little game for everybody. Plays 2 to 5 players, although I don't think 2 plays great. I think you have to play with a kind of an AI mechanic in that case. But Las Vegas is a fun game. Raja of the Ganges. Well, that's one of my favorite games of all time. You are using, you're chucking dice. Every time you gather new dice, you chuck them, and then you assign them to different places. It's worker placement with dice placement. And it is a fantastic game. And it looks great because the colors are fun. They're like green and orange and purple and blue, and it looks really cool. And then Role Player is not a bad game either. You're also, you have colored dice, and you are assigning the dice to be different characteristics for a character that you're building, and there's kind of a puzzly element to that. So I'll get into what mine are real fast because I'm running out of time already. But so the one that I would play, this is tough.
I'm glad you thought of these and still don't have an answer.
Well, no, I do have an answer. I just,
especially when he chose them and vetoed the other ones.
Well, I guess I would play Las Vegas. I would play Las Vegas because it's just a fun time. It's an easy, good time for all. I've never had a terrible experience with it. It's very social. It's one of those games you can play and you can get to the table and you can have a lot of fun talking during. And there are a lot of games that we play that you can't do that really because of analysis paralysis and that sort of thing. So this is a great social game, Las Vegas. I would play that. I would definitely put Raja of the Ganges on my shelf. I've said it before. It's one of my top 5 games. I love it. I love everything about it. It's really and the funny thing is I describe it as a race game because it is. You're trying to race to get 2 different things, fame and money, to meet. And when they meet in the middle, it ends the game. And then Role Player. This was a little bit hard because I like Role Player, but it's kind of not really grown on me as much as I thought it would. I think it's because I haven't gotten some of the expansions and the replayability just doesn't quite feel there. So I would probably trade away Role Player at this point. That's my play shelf trade. Daniel, what say you?
All right. Well, I will start off with my shelf. The one I want to keep forever, the one that I will be married to, and that is Role Player. It's on my shelf right now. It is a classic game. It has a really cool theme that resonated with me, and of course I had to give it a try. And that's like building your Dungeons and Dragons character. You get to put the dice to kind of create these stats, but what's really fun about it is it's not just roll better. It's sometimes you want to shoot for these low numbers. Like sometimes you get bonuses because you rolled a 1 and a 1 and a 1. So the theme of it is kind of fun and exciting, and then the way you place the dice kind of have some good combos. Like if I place in the strength thing, I get to do a special ability. If I place in the dex, I get to do ability. So a lot of good choices there, a lot of fun choices. My trade, mostly because I'm just tired of Andy always trying to shoehorn it into everything, and that is Raja of the Ganges. Uh, when we did our Deserted Island game, he took joy in getting rid of all of my Marvel games, all of my good quality games. So you know what? You got to build this one back up for me, Andy, if you want me to get it back to the table. So because of that, I'm going to play Las Vegas, which is a fine time. Andy said it right. It's just you're sitting around the table. You want to finish the night up in a quick, fun, easy way. Sure, play it, but I don't know. I think some people in this group like it a little bit more than I think it's worth. So
interesting.
Daniel, I think that leftover vengeance is not cool, man. I mean, isn't there a verse in the Bible about letting the sun go down on a board game episode? And I don't remember what it was exactly, but it's there. And
something like that.
You're in the wrong.
So that was thousands of years ago. That doesn't apply today.
Right? Okay, very good. That's right.
Wow.
Isn't that how that works? Right.
John,
man, Chris, I expect more. All right, interesting on this play shelf trade, because I think I pretty much, even though these games are vastly different from each other, I kind of put them on the same level as far as my enjoyment. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of an interesting list because they're wildly different, like I say. But I think what I'm looking at here, I haven't played Role Player in a long time. I know the few times I played it, I really liked it. And it's funny, at the time, I didn't understand, why do people want a game to use with this player when you're done? I don't understand, because I'm not a Dungeons and Dragons guy until I played DCC with Chris here. And that's like the first thing you do is create your character. Then you do stuff with them. That's why people were wondering, what do I do with this guy now? I'm like, what do you mean? The game's over. It's done. What are you talking about? So, but the game itself is really cool, and it does come through.
Welcome to the 1970s, John.
So thank you. Yeah, Mr. Dungeon Master Andy that knows all this stuff.
Actually,
anyway,
I know what Daniel does, not me.
So Role Player, I think, is going to be my play, because it's been a while. I've always enjoyed it, and I think I do need to give it another try. I think and then Las Vegas, it's always a blast. It's lighthearted, it's fun. You're going to get a victim of some dice rolls here and there, and that's just the way it is. It's not the best, most strategic player wins kind of a game, but it's quick and it's fun. And when you do have things going your way, it's like Vegas, man. It's just, I can't lose. So that one is going to go on my shelf, because that's always a fun one to play. It's always a good one to pull out when people come over. So that means Raja's is going to be a trade for me as well, Andy. It's not out of vengeance or spite. It's just because, and to be honest, it probably does. It has the closest feel to the Fox Experiment of any of these games. So
what? No.
I mean, as far as what you're doing, because you're not.
No. You're an idiot. I'm sorry.
Okay. Now I am trading it for spite. Never mind.
Raja of the Ganges is not anything like Fox Experiment. We'll get to that in a bit, but holy crap, no.
I mean, because of what
there's so much less math in Raja of the Ganges. I mean, what can I say?
I mean, because of what you do with the dice and how you handle them. The game is completely different. But as far as what you do with the dice. So and
also he said specifically compared to, of these three, it's the
of these three games. It's not of every game, but of these three games, I think it's the most. So anyway, it's being traded.
Like me saying like an apple is the closest thing to a Chevy. If I'm looking at apples, and I don't know. Never mind. I got nowhere to go with this analogy.
Thank you for the input. So my play is Role Player. My shelf is Las Vegas. My trade, originally not because of spite, but now because of spite, is Raja's the Ganges. Chris, what do you got?
All right, guys. So
you suck.
Man, he didn't even say anything yet. Give him a break, Andy.
I thought that was for you. If it was for me, I tip my hat, Andy, if that was for me. If you're just out of nowhere,
it was definitely for
booing. All right. So guys, this may be my easiest play shelf trade of all time. Like when the board games were finalized which ones we were doing, because Andy decided to change it on his own. Immediately I was like, oh, I got my answer. There's no way around it. So I'm going to jump straight to it. So the shelf is Las Vegas. This is one of my favorite games. I love this game. Daniel was insinuating that, talking about me when he says someone likes this game more than they should. And maybe I do. But it's just fun. It's quick. It's the epitome of a filler game for me, right? Something you really can knock out in 20 minutes. Even if you're playing with new people, it takes 2 minutes to explain. and there is some strategy, but then there's not, and there's like layers of like depth of the strategy and stuff like that. It still doesn't play fantastic at 2 players, but it still can play okay at 2 players because of kind of what Andy was alluding to. Is usually what happens is you each choose a set of colors of dice, and then you split another color of dice, and you have to roll those with you, and so it adds kind of an AI player kind of thing. Well, not AI, NPC. Can't say AI. I'm sorry, we're gonna get canceled by a bunch of artists or something. Whatever. But regardless, so it's fantastic. I love that game. Okay, then my play is going to be Raja the Ganges because I've only played it once, and I had an all right time with it. In fact, I had a fantastic time with it, but that's only because Ryan and I were playing with Andy, and Andy is not the greatest at teaching games. I'm just going to be honest, but he's not awful either. But to his credit, he was fantastic this time because he told us over and over and over, guys, it's a race game. The game ends when these 2 things get together, and that's what you need to focus on. And we're like, okay, Andy, yeah, we know what we're doing, whatever. And we got stomped. stomped. And both of us, Ryan, we knew what us were ready for it. And he's like, all right, I win. And we looked at each other like, well, he told us. So anyway, so I want to play it again because it was interesting. And then role player, like, man, this is a trade because I have such a bad taste in my mouth about this. So I like role-playing games. Again, I'm the one that's evangelizing Dungeon Crawl Classics to everyone that I know because I love it. And like role player, it's just like John's the theme guy, right? Like he only cares about a game if like the theme feels right. And this just feels like the most tacked on theme for a game ever. Like nothing about it actually felt like I was actually making a character in the first place. And then even then, like, John talks about how all these people all the time are like, well, what do I do with my character now that I've made it? Exactly. Like, it didn't even matter what you did. It was just themeless and random. So, like, I don't know. Maybe I need to play it again. But I remember being completely just like, what did I even just do? This is boring and themeless, and I don't feel like anything's really happening. So,
Chris, you might be the first person I've ever heard say role player is themeless. You're literally building your character stats. You're trying to reach 18 because you're a barbarian, 18 strength and 16 dexterity, and then wisdom is 5. Like that, you're building your character. You're trying to optimize it.
I'll be the second person to say it then
maybe
because
I'm an old school player and I don't like optimization in D&D.
He put it into words what I meant to say, and that was that it does feel like it's slapped on because it's really just a puzzly game. It has nothing to do with D&D. It has nothing to do with role playing. It has nothing to do with fantasy. It's just kind of slapped on and tacked on. And I kind of agree. I feel like if you could do something with your player once you built him, maybe I'd like it more. Or if there was just more depth to it. Like I said, maybe the expansions add something to it, but
this is a great question. This is for Daniel because he knows more about this like world, like like they got a whole world of those games. Like, is any of the other games built to use your role player character in?
I think so, aren't they?
Yeah, role-playing adventures. They eventually came out with one where you can then run it through or whatever. Okay. But you can do it, but you can choose not to do it too. You can play it a different way.
Sure. I mean,
but you say the other games in this world. The other game is cartographers. So
I thought there was a whole bunch of them though.
There's cartographers, Lockup, which is like a worker placement game. But the one that directly corresponds with role player is this role player adventure, which
isn't
is
Vast,
using your character to go on an adventure.
Vast in this world too?
No, it is not.
Oh, what am I thinking of? I don't know.
Root.
Oh, Vast and Rooter. Okay. Well, whatever. Anyway, you're missing out on Raja the Ganges, John and Daniel, because the thing about Raja that's so great is you do have to build an engine, but you also have to know when enough is enough.
Yeah.
And that's
enough is enough with this
so
segment.
Beautiful.
And Ryan and I did not at all.
All right. Well, which game would you play? Which game would you shelf? And which game would you trade? Please tell us in the comments below. Do you agree with us? Or are we blathering idiots? Yes. Wait, yes isn't on the teleprompter. I just read it naturally. Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons.
Round 2. Fight!
Round 2 comes to me with the Hot or Not segment, our amazing Hot or Not segment, where we take a game that is perceived as the new hotness-ish, at least, and we all play it, decide what we think. Is this game hot? Is this game not? What are we talking about here? And so actually the game we are talking about It's right up here, the Fox Experiment. And you probably, if you've been watching since the beginning of the show, you know this is coming. We're talking about the Fox Experiment today. And so before we get into it, let's cut away for a little how to play. All right, this is a quick run through on how to play the Fox Experiment. In the Fox Experiment, you're going to start out with your own player board with different ways for you to upgrade more of your 3 abilities that you have to start the game. You'll also have 1 wild die that you get to roll. Depending on player count, you'll have 1 or more, or maybe 0, wild chits to use with your dice. What you're trying to do, everybody's going to start out with 1 study that you're trying to complete, and you have different levels of that study. And the different levels are going to want different attributes bred into the foxes. The different attributes are curly tails, floppy ears, barking, and spots. These are signs that your foxes are getting tame. And so we're going to be looking for parents to fulfill these attributes. Because what you're going to do, everybody's going to have 3 things that they're going to draft at the beginning of every round. You're going to draft a female dog, a male dog, and you're going to draft turn order. What order you do that in is up to you. The first thing you might want to do is take first player next turn, next round. Or you might want to move down the road to take some bonuses, but then go later in the round next time. But what we're also going to do is take a couple of dogs here. So let's see, we need blue and pink. So we might take this dog and this dog. Those are going to be our parents for this round. And we'll get the dice associated with them. So we would get 2 pink dice for the male dog, a pink and a blue for the female dog, and we already have our wild die. Once everybody's done all this, you roll the dice, flip over your new puppy, you get a puppy for this round, you name your puppy whatever you want, something cool, then you roll your dice and see what you get. We've got a lot of pink here. You match up your symbols, like so. There's some of them are half symbols, some of them are whole symbols. This is going to get me nothing, but this will get me 1 of anything I want. It's kind of a roll and write. You have a marker that you can use, so we can make that the blue, and we can make this 1, 2, 3, 4 pink. 1, 2, 3, 4. So as you can see, now our dog has 1 barking attribute and 4 spots, and that completes us our first round. We can put a fox on it that's going to get us 2 points at the end of the game. Boom, that's what we can do. Then at the end of this, when everybody's done breeding their foxes, you count up how much friendliness they have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is how many times you've marked on the card. And you rate your fox's friendliness. That fox is a 5. If that's the highest friendliness for that round, you can put another fox here, which will earn you another 2 points at the end of the round. Anyone that doesn't win friendliest fox gets a bonus at the bottom. You play 5 rounds and see who has the most points at the end of the round. The other cool thing you can get on your cards is you'll see these circles will get you a different attribute coin for every different attribute token for each one of those. Those go on your player board. When you have 2 of a kind, you can place it here to get an extra wild dice. You can place it here to get another study to complete. Or you can place 1 up here and you can breed more foxes each round. So you can be breeding up to 3 foxes each round. You can have more wild dice, and this will help you complete more studies. Or you can also go down here, and that allows you to do some endgame scoring, which the most you can ever get is 3, and there's always 4 available. So choosing which one is going to be a tough task sometimes, especially early in the game, so it's something you might wait for till later. But just put a fox there, you'll get a bonus for that, plus you'll score those at the end of the round. You play 5 rounds, and you see who wins.
All right. Well, thank you for that explanation.
So hot right now.
That's hot.
Okay.
That's how it should
You like
be
that?
right there.
Yes. All right. So the Fox Experiment. Yes, we've all played this game. This is one of those games that's it's kind of odd because I'm the theme guy, and the theme of it took me a while to even give it a try, because the theme of the Fox Experiment is you're breeding foxes into submission, so to speak. You're trying to make feral dogs tame dogs. So that's what you're doing in the Fox Experiment. And so, and looking at that, I'm like, why would I want, why is this even a theme? And so, but what I've come to find out, especially with other games by this designer, is that sometimes you take a theme that maybe you don't even care about, and someone pours a lot of heart and soul into it, they come up with a really good game. And that, to me, that's what happened with the Fox Experiment. This game is amazing. It's a thematic dice chucker, Euro-ish type game where you're manipulating your dice, but they all have a real feel to them. You're messing with genetics with these dogs, and it comes through, and it's really cool. I mean, not that you really are producing a dog, but just the fact that everything you do just seems thematically connected, and how you're I guess the biggest part is how the different generations of dogs interact, because what I'd make this generation is now going to be the parents of the next generation. And so those different traits that I'm breeding into these animals are going to be even more prevalent in generations to come, until it's just dominant, man. They all have floppy ears now. Yes. And that was my goal. And so, yeah, they say weird. What a weird theme. And I love this game. It's just insane. So yes, it's hot for me. I can't explain it any other way. Hot game, great game. I'm not going to turn down any plays of it. I'm going to insist it gets played just about every time I get together with people for a while. But yeah, and then just the implementation of it with the dice, the mitigation of the dice, put them together. You have just these huge, amazing turns sometimes. At least once, even if you do terrible for the game, you'll have one time where you're like, oh my gosh, look what I got to do. This dog is amazing. And so, yes, hot Fox Experiment. Love it. What do you guys think?
So, John, I love that you said even if you had a bad game, you get at least one good turn.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, there's only 5 turns.
That's a resounding endorsement of a game if I ever heard one.
Here we go.
I don't know if you're hot. You say it's hot for you. I feel like you're hot for it. The way you're
That
talking.
might be. That might be. You might be right.
I love your point about like, oh, I was going for floppy ears. I did it.
Floppy ear dogs, baby.
Did it.
Actually, I have a question though. You in this thing, you kept saying you're going to breed dogs. You're going to make dogs. You're not making dogs. You're making foxes. But then it made me think wolves got turned into dogs, so foxes would have got turned into what?
Fogs.
Fogs. Okay, fogsies. Oh, look at little fogsy.
Foggy.
All right, now we're off the rails.
Based on the
Chris,
video based on the video we watched earlier, I think foxes are just wild dogs. Like I think that we just haven't he talked about like I laughed earlier. I don't know if you saw it. If you watched on YouTube, you would have seen me when you talked about you were breeding them into submission. I thought that was really funny because normally it's beating things into submission.
Yes.
So it was true. But breeding into submission is actually quite literally what you are doing. You are right. I'd never heard it termed that way. Domestication, I've never viewed as breeding into submission. That is,
I'm just gonna throw this out there that breeding into submission does not sound good, fellas.
correct.
I think Andy's been practicing that for a while.
I've never seen the show, but what's the show where they're all dressed like Red Riding Hood?
Oh, Handmaid's Tale?
That's right. I'm pretty sure they have a little bit of breeding into submission in that show is what I've heard. So
that is what I've heard about that show.
Chris, please move us along.
Indeed. Correct. All right, guys. So I'm going to jump into it. And the Fox Experiment for me is an or game. It's not hot. It's not. It's just or. Like I played it. And it's fine. Like, it doesn't excite me. I don't hate it. I played the game. It wasn't slow. It moved along. It wasn't overly gratifying, but it also wasn't like frustrating and fidgety. Like I was engaged, like rolling and try to, match the little symbols together and try to match the little like card that I'm going for, the goals and stuff like that. It was fine. Like I did the things. And I had a goodish time, but like I'm not dying to do it. Though at the same time, I will admit I was over with some friends the other night, and we were playing, and my wife was there. And in the stack games was the Fox Experiment, and I was actually wanting to play that because I thought she might really enjoy the theme because it's about foxes, and she's more of a cat person. But regardless, I was like, I think she'll really enjoy naming the foxes and that kind of stuff, and that was fun. And like I like the generation things like John talked about in the video and stuff. So. It's fine, but like again, this game, I'm not sure I've ever felt more indifferent about a game. Like
really,
yeah, it's like most of the time when I feel this way, it's actually like I feel worse about it than I'm letting on. When I'm like, it's fine, but like this one really is just kind of like it's like a 6. Like if people like want to play it, I'm gonna be like, okay, cool. Like I'll be entertained while we're playing it, but I'm not gonna like hate that I'm doing it, but I'm not super excited either. So like. I don't know what to say other than it's just the most like, okay. That's all I got. I don't even know what else. That's what I'm saying. I feel so whatever about it. I'm not even sure what else I can say about it.
I believe they call that a meh game.
Yeah,
right?
correct. That's why I say it's an or game. It's right between hot and not. Right in the middle.
Maybe we need to retitle this hot or not or fine but then we'd lose the 90s nostalgia with it. So
Yes.
True.
So I'm counting that
first-
as a not then. So
at
if
first
it's
when
not
you
hot,
said
it's
it was
gotta
an-
be not.
When you said it was an or game, I thought you said it was a bore game,
Oh,
as
no,
if you were either saying it was boring or it had to do with pigs.
no.
I was
Sure,
thinking
yeah,
of
based-
ore
based
as a
on the-
resource. I didn't know what. I was like, you don't have any ore in this game. What?
All right, Fox Experiment. I'll get to this very quickly, and I don't have
Oh,
a whole lot to
boy.
say because it sucks.
Oh,
it's,
here we
it's
go.
not good. The main mechanic of the game is order fulfillment, and I've got so many games that do order fulfillment. I could play Potion Explosion, I could play Splendor, I could play Century, I could play what's the game where you mix the Einstein? Is it where you mix you have the little vials where you have the balls and you have to get them in the right order?
Eureka, Dr.
Eureka,
Potion
that's it.
explosion.
Dr. Eureka. There's so many. Wingspan kind of falls into this category too for me because you're just collecting resources to do this thing, and it's so freaking boring. I'm sorry, I just don't like it. It's too mathy, too boring. The best thing about Fox Experiment is that you get to name your foxes, and there's that, which John and I had a fun time with because we started naming
More of a feud is what we
it
had.
was a feud. We started naming our foxes after like each other and then our wives and stuff, and but adding like derogatory things on the names of the foxes, and then we bred them with terrible qualities. So yeah, that was fun, but that's about it. I don't have a whole lot to say about Fox Experiment. It really feels like, I mean, I guess maybe it feels into the meh category a little, but it almost to a negative sense. Took too long. There's just so many better games that I could get that same feeling from. I didn't think anything was revolutionary here. I didn't, and as far as the theme, again, it just feels a little bit slapped on, to be perfectly honest. It's fine, but
Wow. Okay.
not a fan.
I want to
Andy?
jump in here real quick first.
Go ahead.
I want to say, Andy, okay, I'm going to jump in as your life coach here, okay?
Oh, go for it. Yeah.
I love math and games, so that's part of the reason I play them in the first place. So there's that. I understand that. But I got to be honest, you lose all credibility on your viewpoint in this game when you say there is too much math. I'm not sure there's actually even math in the game.
Well, okay, there might not be math. It's more just about counting things. And
Yeah.
that's, I mean,
Now,
that is,
wait a
that
minute.
is
I'm supposed
form
to
of
have
math,
3
right?
dice.
No, it's like I got to look over here and I go, oh, I need one of these and it's pink and blue and I don't know. There's just too much
Math.
like it's not like deep math. It's like,
It's
like
not math.
bean counting.
not math.
It's
not
bean
math at all.
counting, and I felt like I need spectacles or something to. I don't know.
Andy,
it just wasn't
this-
flying for me.
Andy, I am glad you had this criticism for this game because we've had this quote in our game group for a while, and it's the rules, Philip. It's because Philip said, why do we do this? And he wouldn't accept anything we said other than, Philip, it's the rules. Now we got Andy is too much math. Now, any game we don't like, we just go, too much math.
Well, to be fair, I think I'm actually quoting you, Daniel. I think you said it was too mathy earlier or something like that off screen. I think you said something. But anyway,
I alluded to it because we all heard about what you had said in front of Ryan
Yeah.
Evans.
it's don't get hung up on my words about it being too mathy. I just don't think it's a very fun experience.
Okay.
It's
Just
just
one
order
more,
fulfillment. It's boring.
one more thing real quick is
Chlorophyll, borophyll.
you said how it takes too long. And I gotta tell you, Andy was playing with his son in this foursome that we played with. And I don't remember ever telling his son what he had to do on his turn. But Andy, I had to make sure he wasn't writing on the cards that you don't write on. I was making sure he was staying in his chair and behaving himself and making sure that he was doing what everybody else was doing. You realize this is what we're doing now. We're putting our dice together. We're figuring out what we were. And so everybody's got their one fox done, and Andy's just starting on his. And so he gets it done. And so then he gets on your card, you get to get a benefit, when you get so many things. What's the first benefit Andy goes for? Well, let me make more foxes because I'm so quick at doing that. And so now it's double AP Andy time going on. So it
Can we
only
rename
takes
this
too long
game?
because of you, Andy. Everybody else was done, including your son.
Can we rename this game Foxes with Benefits?
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, I'm going to take over from there. So, Fox Experiment was it looks like a board game. It's definitely a roll and write. And I just haven't found the roll and write that resonates with me. And this one didn't do it either. I do like some verb and verbs. I like Welcome To. I like cartographers, but you throw dice into the mix for some reason. That type of game with dice just makes me go, ugh. And it's because you want to do stuff, but you're so completely and totally bound to the dice rolls. Like, and yes, there are some mitigations. You have the wild token that, when combined, but you lose them eventually. And the second game we played of this, the first game, go figure, I played it horribly wrong, and I actually enjoyed it a lot more because I got to do whatever I wanted. I didn't know you were limited and things. So I was like, man, this game is too easy. I just like got 20 traits all of a sudden, and they're like, you can only choose one card to fulfill, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, Daniel, we're talking about Fox Experiment, not Heaven and Ale.
Oh, I mean, I played it like
That's a
Heaven and
good
Ale,
game.
to be honest.
That's a great game.
So the second round, I was like, okay, well, let's play it by the real rules. So we played it the second time. And the first two rounds, everyone rolled so abysmal that their fox was no better than the foxes that you started the game off with. So it was like 3 rounds before you actually got to like play the game. And I'm like, that was a stupid experience, in my opinion. Like, when it comes to overtly using dice to decide what I get to do, I'm totally against it. I want to be able to maneuver and then to outthink my opponent and then maybe throw the dice in there with a little bit of mitigation to balance it out a little bit. But if I'm just purely relying on the dices, nah, I'm not a big fan of it. And I know turn order is important because of that, because essentially if Andy makes a better fox than me, I might want his fox, so I need to make sure I go first so I can get him. But like, I'm focused on making my fox so well and what I need it as, but I was so focused on it, Andy ended up going first, and then Andy's fox sucked, so he takes my fox instead. And I'm like, I don't know. You put a lot of work into it for somebody else to benefit from. There's just a lot of things in there that just left a bad taste in my mouth, where I would play it again. It would be fine, but I'm going to chalk this up to any other roll and write game.
Yeah, I will bounce off that and agree with that. Like, I know it's part of the game, and I actually forgot about that part. But and there is certain part, like a lot of games, where there's going, picking to go first, and that's part of the thing, and the worker placement. So that's fine. I get why it is there, but it does not feel great. It's like, I worked really hard to build this engine, and now I'm giving the engine away to someone else to run next turn. That doesn't feel great.
Yeah.
What?
I don't see the correlation of it feeling like a roll and write to me. To me, you're just charting your progress when you roll the dice.
You
You're not
roll and you write.
Thank you, Andy.
This is the definition of a roll and write.
In a roll and write, you're like, oh, I'm doing this. I'm going to put this number here because that gets me this, which does this, and then I'm going to do this with that, and then you're just charting what you did on your dice. That's all you're doing. You're not. It doesn't give you
Well,
all
then you're
this
not playing
different
it right because
cascading effects.
you have to plan ahead in this game anyway. For somebody who loves this game, you don't even know how to play it. It sounds like.
What are you talking about?
Don't you have to plan ahead and plan for your genetics for the next fox for the next generation? So you're trying to cascade a little bit.
Yeah, I'm saying, like, you know how roll and writes are. It's like, oh, but if I put this mark here, that going to give me this, and if I put this mark over here, then that's going to give me this and this and this, and then you don't do that. When you get your fox, you're just like, okay, I got 5. Boom, I wrote 5 of them on there. Yeah, that gives you things, but it's not like you have all these choices to make with what you rolled. You roll it, you put it on there. You're just recording what you rolled.
Sure. So I guess it's not even a roll and write. It's just
not
a
even that.
There
roll.
you go. Don't blame roll and writes.
It's just a roll.
It's just
a verb.
It's just a verb.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I can't put the other thing real fast.
Okay.
The other thing is like, I was excited when you first told me about it because I was like, oh, well, this is kind of unique. I didn't know this history about how it was the USSR tried to domesticate
Correct.
foxes, right? And I was like, oh, this is kind of a cool. And then it was just totally slapped on. There was nothing. I mean, there was no meat to that at all. Maybe if there'd been like a communist mechanism where we have to share foxes or something. I don't know, something.
That's in the game, Andy. We just talked about it.
Well, no,
Make
like
the fox-
well, okay, you do share foxes, but I mean, like forced to like cut your fox up into equal portions or something.
Okay.
So
then
this is the second
we'll
time
know
in
who the
show,
true owner
Andy.
of the fox is. If they says
Andy, this
no,
is the
give it to
second time in the
Chris.
show.
Don't cut it up. All right.
This is the second time in the show I got to take offense to your no theme. I wasn't
I
a
know.
big fan of the game, but it was so much theme in there. You're
I know.
literally matching genes. You're going with this fox who is dominant in this trait and this fox who's dominant in this trait so that you can combine them to try to get the dominant trait out of that. That is literally what genetics is. That is what this game is.
Yeah.
The theme is there. The theme is definitely there.
Yes. Well, what do you think out there? Do you think the theme is definitely there? Do you not even care about the theme of foxes? Do you want to play a different game altogether? Well, let us know. But we'll wrap it up right now for our commercial break.
righty. Well, very good. Now let's return to why we're really here.
Round 3. Fight!
All right, guys. Today in round 3, we're going to talk about Shelf of Shame. Obviously, this is a topic that we know very well in the industry. When we first started talking about this, John brought it up, and I was like, yeah, it's a great idea. And he was like, hey, let's talk about our games that are on our Shelf of Shame. Why are they there? How long have they been there? All those things. And I decided, I was like, you know what? Let's take a step back. First of all, this is a huge thing in our community, but we have never actually defined what it is. Some people say Shelf of Shame. Some people say Shelf of Opportunity. Why should I feel shame about it? Why should I feel excited about it? All those things. And it so I was like, you know what? Let's take a step back. Let's just make this a full-on round table. Let's even break the format. Let's not go one and one and one. Let's just take 15 minutes and let's just talk about this. Like, I'm just intrigued to find out where each person is on, what you actually call it, how you view it, the games that you would consider to be on your Shelf of Shame, all of that.
Well,
Yeah.
If I may, I'm going to jump right in because I had a very Shelf of Shame moment, maybe the epitome of a Shelf of Shame moment. Just the other day, I had someone come over and they were looking at all my games like, wow, that's a lot of games. That is really cool. And they pulled down War of the Ring off the top of my shelf and they're like, yeah, this looks really cool. And I said, yeah, it's a really good game. And I go, I haven't played it yet, but I've heard it's really good. And they was like, well, you haven't played it yet, but it's really good. And it just like, I felt embarrassed. I felt shame. I was like, yeah, I shouldn't have said it was really good because I guess I don't know, but I've heard it's really good and it's up there. And so, yeah, that was a Shelf of Shame moment for me.
I love that anecdote, Andy, because I kind of had the same moments where, like, my niece one time came to visit, and I said, I have so many board games, pick any of them, and I'll teach it, and we'll have a great time. She's like, great. She's like, what about that one? I was like, I don't know the rules for that one yet. She's like, oh, okay. What about this one? I was like, I don't know that one either. I was like, can I just pick out the game? And it was like this moment of like, oh, how do I explain to them that I don't play these games?
Daniel, in all fairness, that could have been games that you played.
Well, I mean, fair. That's true.
But one thing I want to talk about, because we haven't hit this yet, and Chris pointed it out, is drives me nuts when people call it Shelf of Opportunity. I think Daniel once said the Shelf of Opportunity is at your friendly local game store. That's your Shelf of Opportunity. That's a Shelf of Shame when you have it at home and you haven't
John,
played it.
I can't take your negative vibes. Take your negative energy
That's
elsewhere.
Right. It just sounds to me like a corporate thing, where they call people resources and they call, failures or opportunities. It's like, no, we fail.
Soylent Green is people. It's meeples.
Yeah, I know. Chris introduced the segment as saying we've never really defined what the Shelf of Shame is. No, Chris, we have defined what the Shelf of Shame is, but you got all these people out there who are like, let's redefine words and let's call it, instead of shame, let's say opportunity. And it's like, no, that's not what it was. It's the Shelf of Shame. Go come up with your own term. Don't take mine.
And don't use shelf anymore. That's an out-of-date term. I call it a board that holds things.
I like it. All right. That's fair.
Yeah, traditionally, when I think of Shelf of Shame, I think of games that I own that I have not yet played. A lot of times they're still in shrink, and I may have owed them for years, and I haven't played them yet. And it's like, well, what the heck is wrong with you? My wife constantly says, and you need to just have a rule that you can't get new games until you've played all the games you've owned. Which I know. It sounds like insanity to us, but yeah. So
you're going to say, my wife says all the time, what the heck is wrong with you?
Yeah. What the heck is wrong with you?
She does. It's just unrelated.
That's right. But the other thing that Shelf of Shame could mean, and I thought about this too, is it could mean sometimes I look at my shelf and I look it all over and I go, yeah, I don't really want to play that. Yeah, I don't really want to play that. I go, why do I own these games if my immediate feeling is, ugh, I don't want to play that. Yeah. If that's the case, why do I own this thing? That's kind of a shaming thing, right?
Yeah.
A shameful thing.
This is perfect. This is what I'm talking about. What actually is the Shelf of Shame? Yes, I agree with you, Daniel, that it's the games that we own that we haven't played that's been there for years. Yes, that is the actual correct terminology, right? But people try to take a different direction. But this makes me think we need to have a new segment we can do in the future. Our Shelf of Shame. Which games do you actually own that you're ashamed to own because you don't even like them?
I gotcha.
But But because of our attachment to these games that we have, right? We spent money on them or whatever investment we have in them, we still haven't let them go. Like, I think we should actually give it like, what are your top? I own these and I don't know why I do. I shouldn't.
Well, I've got something even worse than a shelf of shame, actually. I've got a closet of shame.
Oh,
That's
true.
Take
Whenever
what
we
you
go
want.
to Andy's house, we always go home with a game and he just doesn't want any more. He's like, here, take this home.
The stuff in the closet of shame doesn't even make it on the shelf because it's like, I really don't want to own this. So I put it in the closet.
So guys, since one of the topics we were supposed to talk about too is like the game that was longest on our shelf, I do want to pull mine out because one, I need help. I need help, guys. This game came out in 2014 and I think I bought it new. I think I got it in 2015. So this is 9 years of Shelf of Shame. And it's this game right here. The Battle for Kimball's Cascade. Have you guys ever heard of this game?
No.
So it's literally
countless times. I don't remember ever seeing that
either.
Did you just make this up?
there. I
feel like this is like something printed off. He's touring
no,
with us.
no, this is legitimate. It's like
John's
Space
Believe It or Not
Invaders.
segment.
It's Space Invaders, the game. You're these ships, and you are attempting to go and destroy the aliens that are coming down. And the gimmick of this game is that it has little boards that you pull out and you put back to the top to push the rest of it down. So you're always cycling through, and just like, is it asteroids? No. What did I just say? Space Invaders. Like it's always everything's coming down at you, and you kind of go up, but you keep pushed down. I don't know. Very clever game. I really want to play it, but it's been on my shelf for 9 years.
At this point, you don't want to break the streak, so it's like
that's true.
I mean, I am a Cubs fan, so I am used to long streaks, but I would like to get this one done before 100 years.
It may eventually become valuable.
Nah.
Probably.
Is it still in shrink?
It's not. I tried to read the rules once. That's why it's open.
Tried to. The key word there.
What's something on your shelf of shame, John?
Well, I've got a couple of them here presented that you might be able to see. I've been pointing at the Fox experiment, and you can't see that one, but I have a couple of them here. I've got Come Together. Chris might remember how anxious I was to buy this last year at Gen Con.
Is that a Beatles game?
It's kind of got that theme. It's you're making your own summer music festival. And so everybody's putting together some music festival. You're trying to get acts, trying to build your stage. You have to advertise, and it's worker placement. It's a game that I'm really excited to play. And I'm worried about how I'm going to teach it because it's a little bit wonky how you put the little boards out and all that. But I think once I get going with it, it would be pretty simple to do. But haven't gotten it out yet. I need to do it like a 2-player with somebody and just, get the rules down real well. The other one I got over here is Cape May, which I want to say 3 years ago. That might be the longest one on my shelf of shame. And I poured over it several times and learned the rules, but just never broke it out. I don't know why. I think it's more, I'm afraid people aren't going to like it. So I just kind of leave it there, but it's got really cool components to it. And it's kind of historical. It's about Cape May, where you're building different houses on it. You're trying to make a really historical, cool house on Cape May and make it worth a lot by the end of the game. And so
I want the Marvel theme, Aunt May.
Aunt May, that'd be good.
Yeah.
So John, you hit it right on the head there. And like, I'm going to be honest, my collection is basically just a collection of shame because I am too worried that people are not going to like it just because overall I'm too worried that I'm going to try to teach the game and not do a good job, and because I didn't teach it, they're not going to like it. And so like I have all this like presenting anxiety about my board games that it's a collection of shame because I never actually bring my games and be like, listen guys, we're going to play this and feel confident about it. Now there are, broad strokes here, and I like to give Daniel crap that 1 year I couldn't even do it in the first place because we had to play his games. But that aside, even that joke aside, like literally, like that really is like this prison that I am in of like worrying that I have bought this game. I'm so excited about it. I'm going to show it to people and they're not going to like it. And that's going to like defeat me even more than just not playing it all. And at least it's on the shelf of like it's like an opportunity that it could be awesome, but if I take it off and show it to people, they don't like it. Now it's for sure known that it's not liked. I mean, maybe that says a lot about me as a person. I don't know, but
It's like Schrodinger's cat, Schrodinger's board game. It's
There you
both
go.
good and bad, but you don't know until you open it.
Yeah.
So
right.
if we were to turn Shelf of Shame into a game itself, what would get you the most shame points? Because here's what I'm thinking, right? I think it would be less shame points if it's a game nobody's heard of like you have, Daniel, and more shame points if it's a really good game that people love and it still sits on their shelf and you've never played it. Because that's a lot of shame. So I feel like I had that with War for the Ring, and what do you got there? Glenmore 2. That's a great game. You haven't played it. Still in shrink.
Nope. This was my COVID game. I bought it to support my local game store before COVID, before they shut down. Still in shrink.
That is
Wow.
shameful. That is very shameful.
I'll give you a pass on War of the Ring though, because like again, I've never actually played it, but it seems like there's a lot of rules overhead and stuff like that, and it's only a 2-player game, and it's long, and so all those qualifiers together, it makes it hard to get those to the table. Now, usually though, the upside of those is if you do hit the table, it's probably hitting the table all the time over and over because you found another person that's willing to learn a lot of rules and play a long game. So like if you hit all 3 of those qualifiers, you actually probably found someone to play with it over and over and over with, but it's hard to hit that number. So
Now, I will say too, despite John and his like making fun of people for wanting to turn things positive, I would like to turn this segment a little positive, okay? So I would like to, since there was no defining what this segment is, I would like to brag about how I've made a dent
course.
in my Shelf of Shame just a little bit recently. So
Okay.
I did make a dent. I got Gaia Project to the table, and it was really good. It was really fun. I need to get you guys to play it because I'd never played Terra Mystica. I'd never played what's the other one that's come? There's a couple that have come out since then, right?
the newest ones is Age of Innovation.
Age of Innovation, right? I haven't played those. I hadn't played any of them, but Gaia Project, I was having fun. I was digging it. Terra Nova. Okay, there's another one. So I made a dent with that one, and so I know that I want to keep that one. I also made a dent with another game that I don't know that I want to keep, and it was a really cheesy game, and it was called CTRL or Control. It's a game that it looks like little Lego pieces, and it's like area control kind of, and you're just adding Lego pieces on. It's very abstract. It's a silly little game, but it'd been on my shelf for probably 4 years, and finally got that played, and so now I can get rid of that chaff. But yeah. So what's something you guys have made a dent in recently with your Shelf of Shame?
I've increased.
I don't
mine.
know.
I haven't made a dent in mine.
Yeah,
at
I
all.
win. I win.
Yes, you
Okay.
do. You win that.
Okay.
Well, you're not supposed to ask us questions, Andy. I wasn't prepared for that.
Exactly.
Sucker.
I think we all just lost a point. So maybe that's Randy telling us that it's time for us to move it along.
Maybe.
Well, I don't see the red screen, so.
No, that's fair.
You know
Anyways,
what?
though, that's true. He didn't put up the red screen. That's on Andy. Here we go. We're keeping going.
Yeah.
No.
Well, here,
exactly.
I will say
Time
this.
to pull
uh,
this segment of the station. What do you got?
This will make Randy happy. This is
Okay.
kind of hitting to my shelf of shame. The game wasn't on my shelf anymore, but I owned it in the 80s
Oh.
and borrowed it from Randy to play because I'm going to talk about it on a little one-off video, and that is Axis and Allies. So there we go. I played
come the
Axis and Allies
points.
with my son a couple times. I never got it played when I owned it back in the 80s. So
I think the
Wow,
worst.
he just gave you a point for that. Shenanigans. That wasn't even on
Surprised it
topic.
wasn't 3 points.
I think the worst offense of the Shelf of Shame may be when you have something there for a long period of time, and you end up and you paid money for it, good money, like you'd said, Daniel. You paid it and bought that game new. You said 9 years ago or whatever, and you end up just giving it away without ever even trying it. That is like the
Yeah.
most shameful thing in the world.
been there.
Okay, since I lost 2 points, I do want to point out I was holding my tongue, but I gotta say this. Chris, you said your whole game shelf is a shelf of shame. I was thinking to myself, well, that's a weird thing to call your game shelf because that's what I call Randy's game shelf is his shelf of shame. Why do you have those games? You have that one? Really? Oh, geez. So
Mine's
that's a cute little nickname I give him.
My entire
Well
shelf.
done, sir.
There
My
goes the
entire
score.
shelf is a shelf of opportunity.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh.
All right. Well, so I want to know. I want to know what our people have to say. Tell us in the comments. Like, what is your definition of the shelf of shame? Has it changed based on what we talked about? What's on it, and what, like Andy said, what have you recently got rid of? Let us know in the comments, and make sure you subscribe.
And let us know if we can turn it into a game in the future somehow, some sort of
Yes.
gimmick or something.
There's got to be something here. We got to figure something out.
Absolutely.
Round 4. Fight!
All right, so round 4 is the fan favorite board game Karens, and as you can see, my points are lacking. And since I make like 20 points in this game, I feel like
still in the bag.
it's still anybody's game. So let's see what happens. Actually, we did change the points around a little bit. It was a little unclear last time we played, so let's just throw it out there this time.
Whatever.
The real rules, and that is, I'm going to read off a question. Or sorry, not a question, a quote from Board Game Geek. This person has rated this board game a 1, and everyone's going to be able to guess what board game that is. If they get it right on the first pick, they're going to get 3 points. Then I'll give another clue. They're going to write down what they think. It could be the same game. They could change their mind, or they can double down. If they get it right, at that point, they will get 2 points, and then a third question, and they'll get 1 point. If anybody after the 3 guesses does not get it correct, I will get 1 point. So the max I can get is 3 points. The max any of them can get is 3 points per round. But I made it to where it should be easy for them to guess,
I was going to say
especially
last
after
time.
the third question.
Last time, didn't you get like 12 points per question or something like that? It was
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I mean, it was some.
That's
I
every
mean, I can
time.
go over the rules from last time. I have them
No,
memorized.
we're not going
if
to.
you
No,
want me
there's
to.
no point.
Okay.
It's okay.
All right, so let's get into it. We're gonna read from the first quote that I have here. It says, "I have no use for a game that I have no chance to win due to another's action or inaction. I'm one and done on this one." And as a quick reminder,
Oh.
all of these games are games that we've talked about on the show at some point. Okay, all right, guys. So you've had some time to write it down. So let's see, John, what did you get?
Between Two Cities.
Between Two Cities. All right. I can't tell you if you're right or wrong, but so Chris, what do you have?
I went with Power Grid because you know what? At least more focus on Power Grid.
All right, Andy.
I did
Catan.
Catan because
Okay.
people don't trade with me.
And
All
you
right,
actually
well-
know the answer because this is your quote. You rated it a 1 and put this one.
That's right.
That's what it
That's right.
was.
My quote. My quote.
All right. Good to know that you guys all picked a different game. So that means someone got it wrong. At least
You
one
got at
person.
least 2 points. Look at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Next clue. I find childish artwork marketed to adults very unsettling. I give it a 1. Also, these clues can, they build off of each other. So you got to think of all of them. It's not a standalone clue. We're going to start with Andy this time. Andy, what'd you guess? Bad Company. All right. That is definitely a guess. All right.
That's
John.
the terrible art.
Yeah.
I did Bad Company as well.
Bad Company. We had 2 for Bad Company. All right. I don't know. We've talked about this before. If Chris guessed Bad Company, maybe whether they're right or wrong, they should get points. All right, Chris, what do you got?
Unfortunately, we do not have to cross that bridge, but I'm actually worried that they're right on that one. I went with Sentinel, so the multiverse.
Ooh.
Sentinels of the
Art is
Multiverse.
Not good to me. So
I can see
I
how that
will
would be.
say, if you are correct, Chris, I am offended that they would think comic book is childish. I, for one, would firmly disagree with that.
it wasn't that; it was that actual art because comic book art's all over the place. So they got like comic book art like Kingdom Come, that's amazing, and then you have stuff that looks ridiculous. So
All right, fair. All right, you guys ready for the third one?
Let's do
Sure.
it.
It is a great game for all the closet sociopaths that want to spend 2 hours learning rules so that you can spend 2 more hours killing small animals with their friends. At least put a violent theme on it to match the contents, like Vikings or hipsters defending fair trade coffee.
what? Can I get that again?
What?
What?
Yeah, he wants more violent themes on it, like Vikings or hipsters defending fair trade coffee. Because, nothing gets people more riled up than hipsters
Yeah, I mean, that's fair, but
protesting their
First
coffee
one
drinks.
again? Can't tell if that's them being like snarky or that's actually part of the game.
That's what I was
It's-
wondering.
I
I
assume
think
it's not.
I think I got it. I feel really comfortable now.
What game? Dude,
Well, I'm glad you
I-
feel comfortable in your skin.
Feel so comfortable.
we'll go
Is that
with.
what you meant?
All right.
Yes.
Not sticking with between two cities.
Good call.
I can't believe that I can't think of the name the name of this game. Actually, I just got it, but I already wrote it down, and I'm going to let it stay. You'll
Okay.
enjoy the name that I put up. So
Okay. So Andy, since you seem to be the most confident, we're gonna start with John. John, what do you have?
I was all ready to go.
Bunny
What did
Kingdom.
he write down?
Bunny
Oh.
Kingdom.
Bunny Kingdom. All
okay,
right.
okay.
That would seem to fit all of the theme except
Thank
for
you.
murder. All right. Chris, what do you have?
So this one's actually more about making bread than killing small animals. But I went with Yui Farm because I
Yui
couldn't think of Agricola at that moment for some crazy reason.
All right. Well, once again, you failed to encapsulate murder in your answer, so I don't have confidence. All right, Andy,
right here.
what about you?
I got this.
Okay. Root. Well, guys, I will tell you that root is the correct answer.
Whatever.
Woo,
2
yeah.
hours of killing small animals, childish artwork. And I will say the first clue is actually really good in context with everything else, because that is a legitimate criticism that the whole game can be foiled because one faction does not take the actions they should be.
Yep.
So
Yep. Oh,
Good
and what got
point.
me there is that last clue is taking forever to read the rules. And I was like, well, what is that complex? And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, a game where everybody has totally different rules with how they play.
that's right. Well, good
Makes
job,
sense
Andy.
now.
You got some points.
Woohoo!
And you prevented me from getting 1 point, but I did get 2. Haha, my comeback is pending.
Ridiculous.
All right. Are we ready for our second game?
Let's do it.
Okay. I have to stand and sit down so many times, it feels like a physical exercise, not a board game. Looking at the text of the card in the middle of the board is a pain in the rear. The game is a table hog with a 0.0001% interaction between players. The only fair selling point is that the girls around me are screaming from how much they like the artwork.
So many of it sounded true to this game, and now I'm
Yep.
wondering.
That last sentence killed it here, but I'm still going with it. So the first part made me go ahead and start writing down immediately, and I was like, oh, this is actually Andy's quote. This is actually something he said.
Chris, we might be on the same wavelength.
Mm-hmm.
No interaction. That's what throws me.
That gets me too, though. But
I
I'm
had
going
it
with it.
until that.
Yeah, because this one actually has a fair amount of interaction, even though I actually hate that about the game. But that's
I'm
only-
going forward like a runaway train with it. I don't care.
Oh, gee,
Yep.
I got to think of something.
I was like halfway through the word, and I was like, "Oh, it ain't this one." I'm
Yeah,
going.
me too.
I'm
That
leaning into
last
the
thing,
game.
I was like, I got this, and then no.
Okay. All right, guys. What do we have? Chris, I haven't started with you yet. What did you get?
All right, we got Keyflower because Andy
Keyflower.
literally talked about how he doesn't like the fact that he has to stand up and walk around. Oh no, actually, that's not Keyflower. I'm wrong. Actually, that was well, I'll wait because I think maybe John wrote that down. So John, what
All
do you
right.
got? I'm hijacking here.
Are we doing me?
John. Yep.
Challengers.
Yeah,
Challengers.
exactly.
See, I thought about that, but then there's interaction, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but it is a
I know,
1
not
rating.
really.
I couldn't think of anything, so I just thought of something with nice artwork. I don't know that it would make girls scream, but I picked
Arboretum?
Yeah,
Arboretum.
Okay.
Okay. All right. There were some better choices than others on that one. All right. Let's read quote 2. Anthropomorphic animals rarely bring any value and usually only have unnatural sentiments.
Mm.
That's a 1 if I ever heard it.
That's it. That's
You
all
don't
they
wanna
said.
You don't want to have unnatural sentiments.
I'm back to root again.
I don't think it's going to be
Honestly, my
rooting.
brain went there too, but I was like, that can't be it.
Oh
But,
my gosh, these are so hard.
Yeah.
It's something we've talked about on the show.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you guys, all of these have animals in them. How about that?
Oh, that's your theme.
Yeah.
Uh,
All right, Andy, what do you have? Use your words.
Bad company.
Bad company.
yes.
So I
Didn't
mean,
that
why
have-
not?
Didn't that didn't that have anthropomorphic animals?
I don't think so.
Really? Didn't it have like
All right.
a skunk dressed up as a cop or something?
No, no.
All right,
There
never
could
mind.
be an animal in there. There are some weird pictures. All right, John, what do you have?
I'm barreling ahead. The train is still out of control. I'm sticking with challengers.
All right. Okay. Chris, what about you?
I went to a callback to a previous answer and then took it a completely different direction by just making a music joke, and I went with Maggie's Farm. So to Yui's
Maggie's
Farm, Maggie's Farm. It's a music reference. Don't worry about it.
Okay, I won't. All right. Ready for number 3, guys?
Number 3.
I can't tell if this game made me hate worker placement, tableau builders, or both. The only thing good about this game is the art and the components. The first few plays, I spent so much time just reading the cards.
Not sticking with challengers.
Okay, I got an answer, I think, maybe.
I don't really have a good answer at all.
Chris, what do you got?
Well, because John changed it, I figured I'd sneak in and steal the point. I went with challengers and the off chance it is.
Yes, because there's so much text to read on those cards. Thank you, Chris, for that insightful guess.
Indeed.
All right, Andy, what do you have?
I almost went with Bunny Kingdom, but then I went to Everdell.
Everdell. That seems like a good guess. It has
That
animals,
actually is
tableau
fair.
building, a lot of reading. Girls go ooh about the art.
Mhm.
Seems pretty good. John,
Those
what do you
berries.
have?
If I'd have thought of Everdell, but I don't know if we've really talked about it on the show, so maybe not.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we've talked about this yet either, except in our Gen Con episode, but Fit to Print. is
Okay.
what's on there. You get the
No,
animal
that was actually legitimate there. Your first good guess.
Thanks.
John.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But Andy is right. It's Everdell.
Yay!
And
Somebody
if you
got it.
forget, when we talked about that, that was the episode we had with Sarah Shawn when we did it Play Shelf
yes.
Trade.
Oh, that's what it was. That's right.
That's even more impressive because I wasn't on that show and I
How about
don't watch
that?
our shows back, so I had no idea.
All right. So now we're moving on to the third and last game. Really ugly game design, too big for a standard table, and seriously boring theme and long gameplay. Most of my friends have left it in their collection because it's the only game their wives would consider playing, mainly because there is minor to no interaction, which says enough. Too much undeserved hype around this game. Only the wives will play it.
See, that's the part that throws me off. Is like I was like, I think I know what this is, and then the wives, what? That totally.
I will say the
messes with
wives
me.
might be a red herring.
Sure.
Yeah,
Or maybe your comment is.
maybe
maybe
they're
all
married. Maybe they're married to some really weird wives.
With red hair. Ing.
Oh.
Oh,
All right, John, what's your first guess?
This is going to win me the game. Wingspan.
Wingspan. All right.
Mm,
The ladies do like the wingspan.
they do.
Chris,
do.
what do you have?
That's a real good one. I just piggyback off what Andy said the whole game, Bunny Kingdom, because I couldn't think of anything different. Except I know that there's quite a bit of interaction, and it's not even all that big of a board. But I was like, whatever.
One day that will be right, and it could be now. We don't know.
Maybe.
It could
All
be a
right.
box.
This
Could
is
be a
gonna
box. Could be a
this
boat. Andy.
This is not going to be right, but I put Scythe.
Scythe. All right. You know the ladies like Scythe.
Yes, they do.
And little player interaction in that game as well.
Okay. Very little interaction. All right. Ready for the second one.
Yeah, please.
The mechanics are extravagantly ripped off. There's so much bloat to do a single blatant thing that matters for endless hours. If you're lucky enough to draw matching cards and take the best benefit before others.
I feel like someone may have taken my brain and reworded my brain and posted it. If I'm right about the game.
Yeah, I don't know.
Chris, what do you have?
Wonderland's War.
All right. I would agree that fits a lot of the things that are in this quote. All right, John.
Forging ahead with Wingspan, though it doesn't make as much sense now. But since they don't like this game that much, they might have a weird skewed
You might
view
think
of
there's
it.
a lot of bloat in the game.
Yeah.
All right, Andy, what do you have?
I put, despite the fact that I actually like the game, I put Agricola.
I love that you guys are just copying off each other.
Yui Farm.
much are.
Yui Farm.
Huey Farm. Okay. You guys might be so far away. I don't know if this third one's gonna be helpful, but I had to put it on there. All right. Number 3 is there is no capybaras in this game.
That's
Wait,
it.
what?
That's it. It makes sense if you think about a game capybaras should be in.
What's a capybara?
It's like a 5-foot rodent. It's a capybara.
Oh, I've heard of the chupacabra, but I've never heard of
There,
that.
Google search it.
Okay. How do you pronounce this? Does it sound?
There's even a capybara song.
There's no capybaras in the game.
There's no capybaras in the game, which
It should be.
makes it a 1. If there was a capybara, this could have been a 10.
I got it.
How big are these things?
They're big.
Giant cavey rodent. Wow. Okay. Well, get ready, people in my DCC campaign.
Andy, what's your final guess?
I am going to just jump on John's bandwagon and say Wingspan.
there are no capybaras in Wingspan. You
That's
are
right. That's right.
All right, John.
I left that train, and I went with this is a game, Princess Bride, because rodents of unusual size, I thought is what they were looking for, or RUS.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, that is true. They're rats. They should have been capybaras. But capybaras aren't scary. They look like little Labradors.
Yeah.
Not what I'm
Or
done.
gerbils. Or
I'll tell you
big
that.
gerbils.
Terrifying. Multiple eyes, tentacles. It's going to be terrifying. All right. Here we go.
Chris,
So I'm staying with it and going with Wonderland's War. We'll see what happens.
Wonderland's War.
Okay.
All right. So, guys, I think when I tell you what this is, you're going to go, oh, of course. So put in the comments if you figured it out before these guys did. This is my first 3-pointer. This is the first board game, Karen, that you guys did not get the correct answer for. So the right answer is Arc Nova.
Yeah.
What?
Our producer, Randy, knew it.
What?
Yeah, very large board.
Yeah.
It's full of bloat just to do one action, which I kind of get it because it has the river, you know? So, like,
Yeah.
if you want to build something, you kind of got to do a bunch of stuff just to get to that building. So,
The bloat is what
It
put
is.
me on Wonderland's War. I was like, oh, this game's nothing but bloat.
Yeah, I thought you were onto something with Wonderland's War potentially.
Yeah.
yeah. All right, guys. Well, sorry for your failure of being accurate in this segment. But you know what? Despite my attempts at making this easier for you guys, I almost snuck back with a sneaky victory, but I was so far in the negatives that Andy, you ended up taking the gold today. So Andy, you get your 2 minutes to say whatever you want to say. Hopefully it's about board games and not peanut butter and jelly.
Well, okay, fine. We'll keep it about board games. That's fine. I want to talk to you about a problem I have, and I may have mentioned this before on the show. I'm sure I have, in fact, and that is we kind of alluded to it earlier with the shelf of shame, and that is I need help. I need help, guys. I've got to figure out a way to thin my collection. I've got to get away from buying the hotness, and I've got to figure out what it is that I actually like. This is a weird industry because it's so bloated, to use a word we just used, with games right now that I think sometimes I get confused about what I even enjoy. And that's because there's so many new hot games. They're like, oh, well, that looks cool. And that so-and-so likes that. It's like peer pressure. It's like high school all over again or something, or middle school. And it's like, I got to get that because, well, Daniel and John are raving about that. Then I play it and I go, oh, what? That's terrible. And I've got too many games on my shelf that fit into this category. And I've got so many that I got to get to play. I just need help. I need help. I need a strategy. I feel like I need, what's that? There was that woman that got really popular a few years ago for helping people get rid of stuff, the hoarder or whatever, where you bring your object into your room and you say, does it give me love? Does it make me feel good? If it doesn't bring me joy, then I get rid of it. That was it. Does it bring me joy? So I think I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to take all my board games off my shelf. I'm going to put it in the middle of the table and I'm going to do this whole exercise. Maybe I should videotape this, although it would be really annoyingly long, and go, does this bring me joy? Does it? No, it doesn't. And then I'll give it away. Or sell it. Actually, I'll probably sell it. Need to sell it.
Yeah, I was
Got
going to
too
say,
many.
like,
Too many
Yeah,
to just give away.
As the person who just organized your board game shelf, I would prefer you not to take every game off your shelf and put it in the middle of your floor.
Well, I did not know you did that. That's insane, Daniel.
He did, and it looks beautiful. But the problem is there's no rhyme or reason to any of it now. So now I can't find games. I at least had it like by player count before.
Wow, that's good. Mine's just in there, but yeah, you definitely can't do that, Andy, because like again, you would need multiple closets, because that one closet of all the games that you give away that you're ashamed of is already full. So
it's true.
Yeah, that would be a huge undertaking. But
I shouldn't be allowed to go to Gen Con. I think I shouldn't be allowed to go to these things. I feel like, I think addicts can get themselves banned from casinos by calling ahead. I feel like I need to be calling ahead to like board game conventions, like, hey, can you put me on the list? The list of guys that can't come here because I got a problem, man.
You don't have to buy things there.
Yeah.
That's what they say. That's how they get you though, John.
I know.
That's how they get me.
I'm well aware.
I've been trying to help you with this since day one, Andy. I've been telling you the truth about it, like I did all those people in high school. Like I just gave them the finger, and the same thing with oh hey, this game's cool and new. Give you the finger. I don't care. It looks dumb to me, or it's going to cost money, and I already got this game on my shelf I still haven't even played. So no, I don't care about this new game.
Old man Chris for the win.
That's right.
Look at Chris being all high and mighty over there, not buying board games.
That's right. Cancel board games. That's what I'm doing.
Well, Chris, I understand that we might be moving into a segment we haven't covered in a while. Is that true? Relegation?
Very excited about this segment.
Well, I'm looking forward to the definition of relegation.
Well, friends, it's time for celebration. Yes.
Celebration or relegation?
Cover this game with, normally when you bury a thing at 6 feet, we need to choose at least 600 feet. Maybe the core of the earth to bury this game into, because I am elated to come to you and tell you today that Keyflower has fallen off the top 100.
No!
And you know what? I think it is no coincidence that it's done that after I brought it up on the show and told everyone why it's terrible. It's not a coincidence. It happened after we did it. Maybe time, but I don't think so. That's not the truth that I believe, and my truth is all that matters, right? So my truth is that it fell off the top 100 because I illuminated the trash that game is.
Chris, I just complimented you, and then you bring this to my attention and revel in it when you know I love Keyflower?
I do, yeah.
Hey, Andy, don't feel too bad. This time it was directed at me.
Well, that's fine.
That was Chris just spiking the football on my grave.
Right, people spread the love, I spread the hate.
So do we know what replaced it?
Oh,
yeah.
I forgot to look for that.
Actually,
it dropped off. That's all it cared.
No, I do know, and I'm actually offended. And Andy, you will be too.
Oh no!
It's not Concordia, because Concordia is already on the list.
Sure,
but it's Concordia Venus, which I think is the co-op version of Concordia.
It is, and that doesn't count. That does not count. So Keyflower is still on the top 100. Doesn't count.
That's right.
You don't
doesn't count.
It's an expansion. Expansions don't count. They don't count. They don't count.
I will put an asterisk on this and agree with you guys. That way I can bring it up and trash it again when it really does fall off.
All right. Well, thank you to everyone who has been a part of our wonderful viewing audience today. We would like to encourage you to subscribe and like and join us on the various social mediums out there, including Facebook. We have a group around the board where we talk about a lot of different things. If you want to give us some ideas for segments on the show or just trash us for our opinions, please, by all means, do so. We enjoy that very much. You can send us an email to mail@aroundtheboard.net. Or reach out to us again on the various social media. And so anything else
if you want to get interaction with Old Man Chris, you got to go with Facebook. I don't have Twitter or TikTok or all those other things. So if you want to talk to me, you got to get on the Facebook group.
I'm going back to what's it called? The beep 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 thing. What is that?
MySpace?
No, Telegrams? Is that what it is? No, it's
Telegrams.
Carrier pigeons.
Carrier pigeons.
We know
Pony
we're bad at
Express.
this.
The
Let us
Pony
know how
Express.
bad we are.
Indeed.
Bye, guys.